Today we'll be applying some volume concepts. We have a situation here. Darby poured water from a jug into glasses for her family for dinner on Thursday and Friday. Each day she poured 400 cubic centimeters for both of her parents and herself. She also gives her two dogs each 200 cubic centimeters for each day. The jug is basically a rectangular prism that has a width of 16 centimeters and a length of 16 centimeters. What is the minimum height of the jug that would hold all of the water needed for those 2 days? We need to show our work and explain our reasoning. So I started to show some of my work. So I went back and I looked, and I noticed here that we have, so that means Mom, Dad, and Darby will each drink 400 cubic centimeters, as mentioned right here in our question. And then her dog, she has 2 dogs, and they each drink 200 cubic centimeters. So there would be where the 200s come from. When we add these up, we get 2, 4, and 12. So we get 1,600. Now that's just for day 1. So since we're doing that twice, we will need to take that number and multiply it by 2. Because day 2 will be the same. So day 2, we can write here, will be the same as day 1. So when we do 1,600 times 2, we realize that we need 3,200 cubic centimeters, or centimeters cubed. The next thing we need to do, we need to look at the volume of this container. All right, we know that the width and the length are both 16. So we can plug that into the formula, 16 by 16. We still do not know what the height is. That's what we're trying to figure out. And we actually do know the volume. The volume is going to be the 3,200 centimeters cubed. So we can write that in. So now we need to do some work here to figure out what our height is. 16 times 16 is 256 times our h equals 3,000. Then we need to figure out how many 256s go into 3,000, or we can simply divide. So we do 3,200 divided by 256, and we get the answer of 12.5, which this 12.5 tells us what our height needs to be to fit all of that water into the jug, and that 12.5 needs to be labeled centimeters to match up with the label of the rest of our questions. So my last step is to just go back to the question, make sure I didn't forget anything, and make sure that I answered all parts of the question. So we go back, it says, what is the minimum height of the jug that would hold all of the water needed for those 2 days? Well, we figured out day 1 is 1,600. Day 2 would be the same, so the total water was 3,200. And then we used that number to determine the height, which the question asked us. We showed all of our work, and I talked through each step of the process. And if we were writing, we would want to finalize this with writing a sentence that the minimum height, restating the question, the minimum height of the jug would be 12.5 centimeters. And for my class, there are several ways that you can work through this question. What I would like you to do, or what I'm challenging you to do, would be to take this very same question, and I would like you to come up with a different way to solve it. If you could please write that on a piece of paper along with your name, hand that in tomorrow morning, and we can get that entered into the prize box. As always, I hope this helped.